How about now? Can you guys hear us now?
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Can you hear us? Hear us now? Can you hear us now? Can you
Stop.
hear us now?
Stop for a second. Just stop.
Okay. What Faces is laughing.
It's just your mic working. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we're okay now. Can you guys hear us now? Okay, there you go. All right, everyone. We're going to keep this quick. We're going to jump right into it. So we're going to talk about, what do you call it? We're going to talk about the Super Bowl halftime show because, to be honest with you, that's what I really paid attention to. So we both went to med school in Kansas City. So we're kind of homers within that realm. I was kind of rooting for Kansas City, even though I really wasn't watching the game. But I was here for the halftime show. You watched the halftime show while you were on call.
I did, and I was on call about 45 minutes from Philadelphia, guys. And I was trying to get my butt kicked before I left call this weekend. It did not happen because I kept saying,
I need to have the grin. Say Drake.
When Kansas City wins the Super Bowl and people were like, ah!
Say Drake.
But
anyway,
nobody kicked my butt.
So here's my thoughts on the halftime show. A. Now, actually, I'm going to give it an A-. I'm going to give it an A-.
First of all, say that I was right. So if you guys watched the live on Friday that we did on Friday before the Super Bowl, I predicted that Drake would absolutely perform They Not Like Us. And he did that.
Yeah, he performed They're Not Like Us. Overall, though, I thought the show was good, creative. It wasn't his best performance, I think. I think one of his best performances was in the Grammys. But I think he's just in a different mindset now. And I think his mindset is, F everybody. Like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I was shocked on a couple of things. One, I was shocked that he played so much of his album from GNX, which just came out in December. Was it December or November? I think December. It just came out. So he didn't really play a lot of his hits from before. He played All the Stars. He played DNA. He played Be Humble.
Sit down.
I think that was it.
Be
I think
humble.
everything else was from the new album, which I thought was a little bit interesting. But I was really interested in what happened to him?
What Facey says, I'm kind of tired for the Drake diss.
Yeah.
But yet, you tuned into this live, what Facey, so are you really tired of it?
I think we're at the end, and I'm glad at the end where they say game over and let's just move on. But he's going on tour, and he's going to be going on tour in Toronto, so we're going to see what he's going to do there. But I think everybody's kind of tapped out from this.
Who's going on tour in Toronto?
Kendrick.
Oh Lord, he's going to the home turf.
Yeah.
It's not over.
But yeah, so my thoughts are it was a good performance.
Oh,
I think
Lord.
It could have been a little bit better.
He's going to Aubrey's hometown.
It was a performance. It was a performance that wasn't for everybody. It wasn't for the masses. Leave it to you like that. And I kind of liken it to, if you guys have seen Atlanta. Atlanta's my TV show. Atlanta.
Faye.
What's going on?
Faye says she's not tired of us. She's tired from Kendrick. He needs to move on. Kendrick is like, where's that knife I had? Oh, it's still in his back. Let me twist. Yeah. Yes. Well, the question is, what is there going to be a blowback from this? Like, serious blowback, meaning like, lawsuit, liability, right? We got a question today as to whether or not even going after Drake was career suicide. I think clearly the answer is no.
Look, when you get to those levels, they talk
Not
to
at
lawyers.
this point.
They talk to lawyers. They know what's going on. I'm just here to consume. So after a while, I'm not even concerned about that anymore. That's for the people. That's out of my pay grade. That's between Kendrick, Drake, UMG, NFL. Overall, he took a risk. I appreciate people who take risks. I think most people thought that he wasn't going to play it in light of what was going on, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved him rapping on the Buick Grand National. I loved the symbolism. I loved everything about it. It was great. It was really, really a good thing. But the one thing is like, it's not for everybody.
See?
Yeah.
Obey Darko was wondering the same thing legally. I didn't know Kendrick was allowed to cite Drake's name, say Drake's name in a song.
I think he can legally say it, but I don't think there's anything saying that he cannot say it. But now that he said it in this song on national TV at the Super Bowl, I think now they're just gonna say, hey, listen, like he, acted in an act of defamation towards me. That's what I think they're gonna say. But ultimately, I was entertained.
He didn't say his last name. There's a lot of Drakes out there.
Yeah. But he goes by Drake as his first name.
Yeah, but a lot of people go by Drake by their first name. What about the little boy that was on that Drake and Josh?
He goes by Drake May. Oh, I don't know his name actually, but
right? Maybe he was talking about him.
Yeah. So what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Because I'm actually interested. Because on Twitter.
Wait, I want to know first of all. Wait.
No, I'm asking a question.
Wait. Thumbs up or thumbs down for the show, and then you can ask your question. So they can put their stuff in the chat while you're talking.
I'm trying to ask a question. Can you stop?
Go ahead.
Can you stop?
Go.
Thank you.
Go.
All right. So.
When that supposed to go?
No, but just like I have a thought out. Like you can't just jump right into it.
You could have said your thought already.
I am, but you're like I'm talking over you.
No, you're
If you
not.
can stop, just stop. All
Like
right, you got to go to bed. You got to go to bed soon, Ben. So anyway, all I just want to know is if you guys liked it or if you didn't like it, and go from there.
You just asked the same question I asked.
Okay, Darko. Okay.
What was your question?
I don't remember.
You don't remember now. Okay. I think overall, at least our audience liked it. I think there were quite a number of people who did not like it, who did not enjoy it. Why do you think they didn't enjoy it?
I think that the possibility of people not liking it is a couple things. One, if you're not familiar with Kendrick Lamar, if you're not, like, it's just, he's not for everybody, right?
What does that mean?
Like, his music is for, like, pure lyrical enthusiasts, right? Like, he raps fast. He raps about things that are very abstract, or he raps in a very abstract fashion. The choices he makes for either beats or the way in which what he talks about in general is not for the mainstream, I would say. Mm-hmm. And I think that just looking at the careers of him versus Drake, like, it's just very clearly delineated, right? Like, Drake is going to he's a hit maker. He makes music for the masses. When you talk about crossover, like, he is the epitome. He's in the textbook as crossover success. That's him, but Kendrick is just someone who's going to make music. I call it like he's raps Bob Dylan, right? Like, he is, like, you love it or hate him, you got to respect him.
So people don't know who Bob Dylan is.
Well, Bob Dylan is just one of the, I want to say folk music.
Yeah. He's
more like folk music from the 60s, 70s. Mm-hmm. Kind of very, very, what's the word? How do I want to say it? Very
earthy.
He has a very distinctive way of singing, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make fun of him, but like he's very like swings in his voices and so forth, and what he talks about is like very abstract, and I think it just takes getting used to, right? Mm-hmm. So I was describing like, you have Bob Dylan, then you have the Beach Boys, or you have Bob Dylan and you have Rolling Stones, right? Like you have one extreme versus the other, right? Both are respected, it's just one is just known to be very abstract.
Yeah. So I described it as like if you went to the Super Bowl just to be entertained and you weren't there to think, right? You weren't there to have critical thinking, then this halftime show was not for you, right? So like if you don't understand the interpretive dance, then all you're going to see is people flailing about. But if you are there for interpretive dance, right? If you are able to interpret the dance, then you're not just going to be entertained, you're going to get some meaning out of what is going on. You're going to get some sort of cerebral satisfaction from what is going on. And I think the people who were like, this is crap, this is whatever, either one of two things. Either they are diehard Drake fans and didn't like the fact that he mentioned Drake, which I get.
It's possible.
I get. Or they not like us, right? Like they didn't go for interpretive dance, right? They didn't go to have this cerebral, this cerebral level of thinking where they had to try to figure out what was going on.
One thing I can say is that, like,
The slow people didn't get it.
Yeah.
MD Money mentors are the slow people didn't get it.
I think the energy that I got from him is, I think it would have been a different experience if it was a smaller arena, right? Because I think the energy, the way in which he played was for like an arena, not for a stadium, right? That's fine. But also,
And it would have been different because those people in an arena would have been there to see him.
right?
Not
That's
there
what
to
that's what I was
see
gonna
the
say.
Super Bowl.
A lot of people, I think it's more than just appreciating interpretive dance. It's just like, if you're a fan of Kendrick, you're just a fan of Kendrick. That's just the way how I describe it.
Right.
Like, and if you're a fan of Kendrick, then you know what to expect. And that's kind of how I look at it. Even if you're not a fan of Kendrick, you come into this, you might be like, what is this? That's how I think. Even if you like rap, but you're not a fan of Kendrick, you could just be like, what is this? But
Let
I
me
really
ask.
enjoyed it.
Let me ask. Was he invited? Because I know there was a beef about Lil Wayne. I guess who's from what's the name? Philly? Is he from Philly?
No, he's from New Orleans.
New Orleans. That's right. There was a beef about. Yeah, that's right. He's from, I don't know why I said Philly. Beef about Lil Wayne, who was supposed to, or who was pegged to play for the Super Bowl at some point in time, and then it was switched to Kendrick. Or what was that all about? Because there were some people who were like, "Oh, Lil Wayne's sitting smirking somewhere," and I'm like, I don't know why.
So
because
it started years ago. So several years ago, J-Lo and I can't remember who else, but when the Super Bowl was in Miami, J-Lo and some other people from Miami played. And people were like, well, that's odd.
because she's from
She's
New
from
York.
that area.
No, J-Lo's from New
but
York.
she can claim Miami also, right?
Why?
And so there were some people who were there, so they were like, okay, well, maybe that's the first thing, is that, okay, so is she only playing there, or are they only playing there because they're from that area? Then the second thing happened is Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, they performed when the Super Bowl was in Los Angeles.
Right. That makes
Right?
sense.
So then that was the second episode of that happening. And then all of a sudden, as soon as that occurred, then everybody said, whenever there's a Super Bowl and there's like a famous artist from that area,
You got to be local,
then
so they don't have to pay travel fees.
So that's what happened with New Orleans. People were like, well, we want to have
Lil Wayne.
There. And anybody who follows Lil Wayne, he's an amazing rapper. He's one of the best rappers out there. Not one of my top ones, but he's one of the best rappers out there. And lately, he's been having issues with forgetting his lines on stage, not finishing shows.
I
so
got
I think
my own thoughts about why, and I'm sure
Well,
you do too.
I think most people know why. And I think that had something to do with it. The other thing also, so
Hey,
people are like,
Dr. Megan,
so I think the other
Dr.
thing
Nicole.
that had to do with it is,
Kiswondo, is that how you say your name? Kiswondo.
the other thing that had to do with it is what do you call it? Is like
MVP.
you couldn't stop the train at this point. Like Kendrick was just high on everybody's attention and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
MD Money Mentors says,
Yeah.
stay away from drugs, kids. I believe that.
yeah.
Okay, so because people were also talking about the fact that the people who didn't like the show were talking about, Lil Wayne is sitting down smirking somewhere because I guess they felt like the show was bad. Busy OB mama, hello. Whereas other people were just saying that, it was corny, they didn't get it, that people weren't on their feet. X, Y, and Z. There's like a video out, I guess.
Oh, there's a
during
lot
the
of people. There's a lot of
halftime
people
show.
who weren't on their feet. A lot of people were not on their feet.
But I mean, let's face it also, right? Like, this is not the first time that there has been some contention about whether or not a Super Bowl halftime show was good or bad. Like, nobody necessarily goes for the halftime show, but at the same time, there have been plenty of Super Bowl
yeah, but
halftime shows that haven't really been great.
That's a long time ago, though. So now we're talking about at least a good 6 years, 7 years, where people just have been, ever since Jay-Z took over, like the Super Bowl halftime shows have been really, really out of the park. Everybody appreciates, they like this, from Rihanna to, who was the one last year? Usher. To even years before. People really enjoy it now.
But a lot of those people are crossover artists, right? What we call crossover artists, that are known for, they span different generations. They span race. They span, a whole bunch of different intersections, if you will, right? Whereas Kendrick Lamar is not a crossover artist. He doesn't span different generations. He doesn't span different races. He doesn't intersect, right? So he's a very niche.
He's your favorite rapper's rapper, basically.
He's your favorite rapper's rapper, right?
He's
the mentor.
He's who your rapper will look to be like, okay, if I have his approval, then I know what I'm doing. But I think most rappers are like, yeah, it'd be great to rap like him, but I don't know if that really will get me the success that I want. Whereas they look at Drake and they're like, I want that. I want that hit. I want all those different things. And it's so it is what it is. The way I look at it is, I knew what to expect when we were coming out. I was like, whatever it is, like half of the people are not gonna like it. A lot of people, if me being a fan, is going to enjoy it, and that's how it is. So
yeah,
we need to end this up real quick. Y'all, real quick, anybody who has been following this United Healthcare issue with the surgeon who left surgery to talk to United Healthcare over the phone while their patient was intubated. This is a very interesting topic. I don't know if you guys have been following, but I've been following from the periphery. So basically, long story short, we're going to talk about on our show tomorrow. I think it's a breast surgeon or a plastic surgeon. Mm-hmm. She was about to operate, and she got a phone call, and a hospital
the patient was intubated on the table.
A hospital administrator came to the OR, knocked on the door, and said, you have to take this phone call. So she scrubbed out and was speaking to a insurance administrator about basically the patient who's intubated
on the table,
about their insurance status, are they inpatient, outpatient, blah 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 blah, and then she talked about it on social media, and it has kind of become this huge thing now where United Healthcare is basically threatening her to take down those videos. They denied the stay of that patient who she operated on. And
she named the insurance company?
Yeah. And the doctor is not backing down. So you have the doctor that's not backing down. I'm not in the view, I'm sorry. You have the doctor who's not backing down. Then you have the then you have the patient stay that was denied. And now you have the insurance company that's potentially may threaten some legal action. So this is really interesting. So I want to talk about this on tomorrow's show because there's a lot of things to unpack.
Well, we're going to be recording tomorrow, but it won't come out until next week.
Yeah. The thing quickly that I don't understand is, I think if I understand this correctly, the insurance company is saying whether this is inpatient versus this is outpatient, or this is a, what do you call that?
Like an overnight stay.
Like an overnight stay. Mm-hmm. Because just because you admit someone doesn't mean that they're inpatient.
Correct.
It just means that you can observe them. And I'm wondering if this is what the real issue is, right? Because you can still operate on someone depending on what they are, and then they put them on observatory status. So I don't know what the status is, but this is very interesting.
Something. This whole thing got red flags written all over it. From the time she done scrubbed in, to the time she took the phone call, to the time she went to social media, to the time that the insurance company, this thing has red flags, and everybody behaved badly in this case. Including the surgeon. Status. And I have lots of thoughts about her behavior, about the behavior of the insurance company, about the behavior of everybody except for the patient who was minding his or her own damn business and being on the table trying to be taken care of. So I have a lot of thoughts about that. So if you guys tune in, you can tune in into our show. We have a show that is going to be coming out tomorrow. It's not about this topic, but keep tuning into the show so that you can hear our thoughts about this whole issue. Because the reality is, as physicians, we have certain obligations. We have obligations to our patients, but we have obligations, to kind of work alongside insurance companies and stuff like that for the benefit of the patient. The question becomes, what is the obligation that we have when we take to social media to reveal some of these things? We got to really think about what it is that we're doing and how that will impact not just what the public hears and interprets, but how will that impact our own careers, our own livelihoods?
So I'll put it out here and just say, guys, if you are a doctor and you're listening to this, you may not like what I'm going to say, but I think this is part of being a blue collar worker. Like, I know that, we are raised to think that doctors are like high and mighty, and we are.
White collar.
We are. But doctors,
We are.
in my opinion, the profession is not a white collar job.
Anymore.
The buck really doesn't stop with us in terms of decision making, but in terms of malpractice, it does. So in terms of responsibility, it's on us. But in terms of control and the decisions that you make on your patient, ultimately, that's not really, your purview. And I think that's the issue here, right? Which is, I know what's best for my patient, which is true, but it doesn't mean that the scenario dictates that it is your decision to make, right? It doesn't make it right. So basically what I'm saying is, yes, you have the final, or excuse me, yes, you should have the final say in terms of what goes on with your patients, but that's not the current environment right now. And that's just kind of what we live in right now.
Yeah.
So when I say blue collar, I hope y'all don't take it, in a bad way, but it kind of is. It's like, we don't have,
at this point, it's
we
the
don't have the
category
power.
we're in.
We don't have the power like y'all think we do and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. Who's the one you have better view? Your nearsightedness is better than mine.
Okay. Wait. Is it what? The one Rick Travel
the one-
or Theon Erie?
Yeah,
Theon,
some of your names are just crazy. Yeah.
Is it Theon Eric Traveler? You got to tell us what that is. I need to know before I get off this slide.
Have any of y'all had any issues with health insurance companies?
If you're a doctor, then yes. You always have
That's
it.
true. We're high paid employees, basically.
Yeah.
Rick Law.
The Oniric Traveler of a dreamlike state. Oh.
My
Okay. I'm
issue
gonna have to get out my dictionary.
as a med student, sometimes it's discouraging to see that doctors' hands are tied when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So listen, I'm gonna tell you something right now. But that's the whole point of this show is like the landscape is the landscape, right? Like docs don't really have that much power that I think a lot of med students and pre-meds think that you will have.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that it's still not a dope job. I love my job. Like I would never want to do anything else. It's just that you have to know like what's in front of you, and you have to know like where the landmines are, where the pit holes are, which sword you're gonna fight on, which battle you're just gonna let go of so you can win the war. That's just how it is, right? You just got to know.
You're going to be frustrated too. You just got to know you're going to.
You
have
can't
a
fight
level of
every single thing, but you can do really good by your patients. You can really help your community. It's dope. It's great. But I think the whole like what you write on your personal statement, or what you think is gonna be the case when you're a pre-med student, that ain't the case overall, right? Like you just got to kind of temper that a little bit and realize that hey, in order for me to take care of my patients, I got to get a little taste of reality and realize that hey. I can't fight every battle.
So speaking of...
This might be one of them.
Speaking of Oniric, you got to get out of that like dreamlike state, right? Of, well, I'm going to, take care of patients and I'm going to heal and I'm going to whatever. You're going to do all of that, but you're going to do it with, through gritting your teeth sometimes, through frustration, because there are outside forces that won't allow you to have that dreamlike state. Where you think it's just going to be all candy and roses, That's just the way that it is.
And that's part of the reason why, we talk about on the show like financial independence and locums. Financial independence is big because if you take away, the thing that is forcing you to have to go to a job that you may not like or have to go someplace that you may not want to be at because you got to pay off your debt or, you got student loans that you're having a hard time with, or maybe you don't have savings. that allows you to be a little bit more free than you normally would,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you're making smarter decisions about your career, if you maybe choose not to be employed, maybe you decide to go into private practice or you decide to be an independent contractor, that just causes a little space between you and the hospital. And that gives you a bit more control over your career and control over the decisions that you want to make a bit more. So that's why we're fans of that. We're not fanatics. We don't go crazy. We don't think locums is for everybody all the time.
What? Have you listened to the podcast? Have you ever heard this guy not say that locums, everybody should do it?
I'm trying to get a little bit more sober.
Are you trying to be humble? Sit down. Be humble.
She's right though. I am a fan. I think every doc should be locums.
There we go.
But I
Tell
know
the truth.
I know it's not for everybody. I know it's not for everybody because it's not for everybody. But every doctor should try it at least once, right? Seriously.
Yes.
I think every doc should try it. Try it for a little bit, see how it goes. Maybe even, do part-time locums, part-time as a job and stuff.
Yeah, because you don't have to do locums full-time. You could be working full-time and do like locums, let's say on a weekend or, something like that.
A friend of hers left her full-time a year ago and has been doing well. I work acute care, but have considered acute care surgery or acute care. What do you mean by that? Be specific.
Like ICU, medical ICU. Either way, acute care, like if you're talking about like ICUs, you probably get a lot of locums with that also.
Can I make the screen bigger?
Right? No, don't. What? Okay, there you
sorry.
go. Okay. I was going to say, you're going to mess it up.
Psychiatry. Okay. All right. Got you.
Yeah, they have psychiatry.
Yeah, so for me,
locums
I would
for
just say like the more you put a distance on the hospital's ability to tell you what to do, and that's either as an employee or, maybe to paying off your debt or something like that, the more you'll feel in control of your career, the more you'll feel in control of certain decisions. And for me, it's a little bit easier because like all of my patients, realistically, probably like 90% of my patients all come in in an emergency. Right. So there's really no time. There's never that.
To be like, let me talk to the insurance company and see what they got to say.
Unless it's like a take back. Like let's say, for example, someone has something and I get them through their first surgery and then it's time to come back as an outpatient. And then they come back to see me. Then, obviously we have to go through that process of getting pre-authorization and so forth. But we'll talk about that more on an upcoming episode. But I just think that world is crazy. And OB, you have to deal with that, right?
Yeah, but the way that I work now, I don't deal with insurance companies as much, although I have been called on, like, let's say a patient that I'm keeping who's like, let's say the patient is antepartum or admitted, for whatever reason. And I've been called about like, what's this patient's status? To which I usually respond, and like literally respond, are you calling about a money issue? Because I do ask whoever calls me, I ask them, are you calling about a money issue? Because what they will do is they will try to pretend that this is a medical issue, that they're trying to, I don't see such and such medication for this patient, or I didn't see this procedure for this patient, so I didn't quite know whether or not this patient was, being admitted or should be staying here. And I flat out, I don't have these dreamlike state conversations. I basically say, is this a money issue? I want to know upfront what I'm talking about with you, because I just want to be clear that we're talking about money.
That happens to me a lot. So
I just want to be clear.
I'll have
They
patients,
usually back down then.
I'll have patients, for example, who I admit one night on traumas, and then the next morning, for example, if I have a patient that has a bunch of rib fractures, let's say I have a patient who has like rib fractures, I bring them in, and the next day I have hospital staff that will call me and say, hey, you put down that this patient needs to be inpatient, but all you're doing is just pain control, and you're shooting some x-rays and maybe some physical therapy. Does this patient need to be inpatient? Can I switch them to outpatient? Or observation status, not outpatient. Can I switch them to observation status?
Sometimes
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, sometimes they just want you to switch them, or they want you to discharge the patient home.
No, I've never gotten that.
I've
never gotten that.
When is this patient? We just wanted to know at what point you think you would be discharging this patient. Is this a money issue? Is that what you're calling me about? I just want to be clear what we're talking about. Because if you're having a conversation with me and I don't know what kind of your real concern is, then I can't have a real conversation with you. So I just need to know if we're talking about money. And all of a sudden, people just, literally, no, it's not a money issue. It's more of a status issue. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I just need to know.
But that's who you're talking to is someone who's in probably a little bit less than middle management, and they don't even know. They just know that
They know it's a money issue.
what's it going to get reimbursed for and all that stuff.
Exactly.
But anyway,
it's a money issue. That's all. I just want to know.
yeah. All right, y'all. We're going to get out of here. It's time for us to sleep. And
it's time for you to sleep. Why are you
catch
scrolling
you
on Instagram? Why are you doing this?
here's your conscience right here.
Don't worry. I'll be scrolling on Instagram before I go to bed.
And that's why she's tired all the time.
No, I'm tired because I am immediately post-call. Just got home a few hours ago from a 62-hour shift.
Yeah, I hate shifts like that. Can't do that. Have a good night. I had a long day. I needed a break. Bye. Peace. All right, guys. We'll catch you guys on the next one, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Oh, sorry. You supposed to do that.
I end the line stream.
Sorry. Almost messed that up.